Before I put the videotape in and we watch it, I've been talking in a lot of these music discussions about the placement and intentionality of the music. Like, an instrument enters when a certain character says a certain line of dialogue. The music becomes more or less dissonant or consonant based on stuff happening in the scene. This next piece of music, True, is an interesting one because it is a very iconic piece of music from the original game. And like most of the pieces of music in the original game, it was just a loop. But here, as with many of the pieces, Akira Yamaoka was able to recompose it to a certain degree and restructure it so that there's new musical material, and the way that the different sections of it fall in regards to the scene are like structured for maximum impact. And I'll talk more about that after the scene. But yeah, one thing I will say, there is a melody in this piece of music that we've talked about a bunch this entire playthrough, and see if you can figure out what it is, where the instrument plays it. You might already know if you're familiar with the piece of music, but yeah, let's get into it.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Promise you'll take me again, James?
Hey, there you are. Do you know where Mary is? Come on, talk to me.
Mary's gone. She's dead.
Liar. That's a lie.
No. It's the truth.
She died because she was sick?
I killed her.
Killer? Why'd you do it? I hate you! didn't care about her. I hate you, James! I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! She was always waiting for you. Why? Why?
I'm sorry. Mary, you know, isn't here.
That is such a powerful scene for so many different reasons. Cleo and I were talking in our email chain about how the presence of Laura in particular is such a what was the story that you referenced, or the phrase that you referenced, Cleo? A literal turning of the screw or something like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I was doubting myself for a second, but yeah, there's the idea of this is already an awful moment for James, and then who meets him in that moment but Laura, the most innocent character in the game, this young girl who has naivety, but also is so honest in her emotions, and when he tells her what happened, and the fact that it serves both a functional reason, like on a making sure the player knows, like it gets, or the audience gets the information they need, but also an emotional level when she asks she died because she was sick. Like that is such a, it's a moment to just push it even further and force James to tell the truth about what happened, and also again confirm to the player what they just saw on that videotape. Yeah, it's such a well-crafted scene. Like the dialogue is very economic, and then the music, as I was saying before, is structured, particularly in the remake, to just provide the utmost amount of impact, which is why I have this piano up here. The first time I actually heard the riff from True, this I'm pretty sure was actually like my brother was downloading music in high school and stuff, and he had a remix of this piece called There Was a Hole Here from Overclock Remix, done by an artist called The Wingless, which is a very cool remix. But then when I heard the real version of the piece, I was like, oh, this is a lot less complicated in certain ways, but a lot more impactful because of that. For the remake, we have the addition of this like opening section that has like this very atmospheric synth tone going like, and I've talked before about how, like, okay, first of all, we're in C minor, Akira Yamaoka's favorite key to use in this game. And I've talked in previous videos about how that sixth scale degree in the minor mode, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that often gives us that very dark, tense feel in minor mode, and in like music like this that's supposed to have this haunting vibe to it. And so we start off with that interval, and we're avoiding that minor third that really defines minor chord. And then we get that riff played on this music box sort of sound like this, playing it in parallel with the piano. And it's either like a Celeste or a music box. I get the vibe that it was almost a way to bring the music box puzzle music into this piece of music, as a way to create even more connectivity there. And then we get this very intense, like moving piano riff that's like. And it gives us a sense of like, oh, things are progressing towards something. We're moving quickly towards this truth that James has been avoiding. And then as soon as Mary starts coughing in the videotape, the static overtakes the music. On the album version of this piece, there is actually like a little bit of connective piano material to connect the first section to the second section. You get like these kind of sparse chords where in tonal clusters where you hear this like. We don't hear that in the game because in that moment, all they want you to focus on is what's on screen, which is this very distorted but clear enough image of what James is doing to Mary. And it's not until we shift back to the reflection of James's face in the TV that we hear that like cymbal swell and we start to hear the main riff, piano riff from True. It's all based around this C minor add two kind of tonal cluster. He loves his add twos, Akira Yamaoka. I think I talked in a previous video about how, like, I remember Hans Zimmer in some masterclass thing talking about how, like, melodies are, like, oftentimes a call and response or a question and answer where you've got, like, question, answer. Like, that's not really great, but that, like, there's something about coming back to that tonic or any of the like strong notes in a chord that gives you that feeling of like, oh, things are getting answered or resolved. I feel like this riff, because it starts off with this is like stating the reality, the truth that this title is referring to. James killed his wife, and then we get this sort of suspended chord. It's not really a like C minor chord or even like a D minor or D diminished chord. It's just this, we've got these two non-chord tones that to me feel like they're asking a question, and it's this constant back and forth of answer, question. Like it's saying, you did this, and the player and James is saying, did he really? And it just keeps going back and forth between that and this main riff. And then we get this cool piano riff in the treble where it's going like. And it's so fun to play. It sounds really cool. It's kind of this based around this pedal note, the fifth scale degree, but between that we've got the. And as I was like examining this piece the other day, like trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about with it, there's a little bit of like Dies Irae vibe to that. Like if the Dies Irae is the. We get a little bit of that with like right there in that middle part. And then we get this. And then as I was listening to that and thinking about the Dies Irae, I made a connection I hadn't made before. Months ago when we were in Brookhaven, there's the scene with Maria, the Anyway scene, the very famous Anyway scene.
Anyway.
Joking about with sound gags in my Stay On Theme videos, where I talked in a previous video about how like you get this descending piano line halfway through the piece that plays there, Echoes of Silence, that almost sounds like a Dies Irae type thing. Listen to that.
So what about Laura?
Something I want to bring up later. And I realized where those notes came from. The line that we get in that piece halfway through the game is... which, aside from that first note, is the very end of the true riff. Just much slower and without any sort of like tonal context to make you immediately make that connection. And it feels like it is like a foreshadowing, almost a calling ahead. And my current theory as to why that is because rewatching that scene, we hear that start to play. We start to hear that in the pause after Maria says, "You're supposed to take care of me," and then she sort of pulls away again. Oh, just you wait, Cleo. And then we hear, we start to hear that line, and then immediately after that, Maria says, "So what about Laura? Were you able to find her?" And who do we have in this scene but Laura, as that riff starts to come in? So that's like the first thematic thing that I wanted to talk about with this is we get this melody that's used in two places where Laura is in the game. Then let's talk about the drums. Can we talk about the drums? Let's talk about the drums. The drums I talked about, like the drums are mostly used in the rock songs on the soundtrack, which really don't come up in the game that much, but they come in for the first time really when you meet Maria, and they're present for Heaven's Night. And I can't think of any other pieces off the top of my head, in the remake at least, that use drums before this point. But I talked before, it was After Daddy. That was another place where we had the drums enter, and they give this sort of like feeling of progression. We're moving forward towards something. And I think it's they serve a similar function here, is they like provide this very steady beat and this stability, but also this idea of like, oh, we're moving towards something. So there's the drums. And then we've got one of the most beautiful parts of this piece is the cello line. Actually, before we get to that, let's talk about the cello line. So we've got the riff. Then we've got this like pedal note riff. And then after it goes through that a couple times, we've got the piano just kind of leaning back on this. Again, going back and forth between like a perfect fifth and that minor sixth. And then we have the cello come in with... and it's echoed in this higher up instrument that sounds like almost like a music box or Celeste. We have heard part of that melody before throughout the game, and with this particular rhythm even.
Where are you going?
I need to find Mary.
Didn't you say she died?
And then, if we were to change the rhythm of it a little bit, it's like one note off. Yes, Cleo, it's the Magdalene riff again. We hear it in the remake for the first time on the jukebox with that sort of freer rhythm. And we hear it that similar way when Maria dies in Brookhaven. But there is a riff that changes the rhythm of those notes, but maintains the notes themselves that occurs several times throughout the soundtrack. First time I talked about it before was with Null Moon, where we had it in this Dorian mode thing, and so it was kind of hidden, this but another place we hear it, which you don't really hear until the credits in the remake, but if you played the original and you've watched like the trailer or like the opening cinematic kind of thing, it's in the rock version of the theme of Laura, which the more I think about it, the more I think of theme of Laura as that rock version, at least, as like an overture for Silent Hill 2, because it has the theme of Laura riff, which is the it's got that riff, which Akira Yamaoka uses on several other pieces in the Silent Hill series to like kind of call back to this game. And it's also got the original Silent Hill theme. And then in that same section of the song, it's kind of like what you might call the bridge of the song. Let's get into the actual key that song is in, E minor. You've got the whole... And then you've got this callback in the strings that go like... And it plays that same riff twice, and then you hear... And so we've got the Silent Hill 1 theme in there. And then the last time it goes through that... that same little... which I've always associated with Mary, because that riff happens here in True with the... But now, like, having played through this game and done such a close reading on the music throughout, like, it is... That to me is the Mary theme, the Magdalene theme. It's rhythmically different, but it's those same notes. And... It's so impactful. It's such a simple little melody, but it comes back here. And it's one of the reasons I love this soundtrack in particular so much, because it has that thematic through line in the music, the same way that a lot of movies do with different themes and stuff like that. The last thing I'll talk about with this piece of music is we have those riffs, we have the cello melody, and then the drums drop out to allow James to allow Laura to really... It really accentuates the moment where Laura says she died because she was sick, and then James says, I killed her. There are no drums there. The piano has stopped, really. Or it has become less busy. And then as Laura starts to cry and to like interrogate James, like, why? What do you mean? Why did you do this? We get the cello and it goes. And I, like, as with any of this stuff, I could be way too deep into overanalyzing here, but I love the way that this melody, it hits that second, it doesn't hit the root note, it doesn't hit the tonic, still avoiding the tonic, and then it finally resolves as if it's like dancing around that home place, that place of stability. Like, there's so much on a harmonic level that, whether it was intentional or not, I feel like adds to this feeling of like we and James have just experienced this horrible truth, and there's a part of your brain that doesn't want to believe it, and the music reflects that. It moves away from it and then back to our home. We've got it in the we keep coming back to that tonic, and in the cello line at the end, or even the cello earlier, keeps repeating, going back to that. It's this feeling of finality, and this feeling like you can't escape this at this point.